Hi there, my name is Connor Keene. I'm a working professional actor, I'm a writer, novelist, and I'm also a musician. I wanted to talk to you for a bit about Jeffrey Ellis's redesigned Xiao flutes. Why I think these are some of the best Xiao flutes available in the world today, and really why they're some of the best keyless flutes I've ever played. So I'm going to go through the range of keys here, playing them so you can hear each one for yourself. And then I'm going to talk about the instrument in general and what I think is so special about Jeffrey's Xiaos. So starting from the bottom and working my way to the top. This is the lowest of the Xiao flutes that Jeffrey makes at the moment. This is in the key of A, and this flute is made from curly maple. The thing that leaps out at me immediately about Jeffrey's Xiaos is his craftsmanship with wood. These are aesthetically beautiful flutes. They come in a vivid variety of high quality materials. The wood feels a little more substantial and durable than your typical stalk of bamboo, as bamboo can be a little prone to splitting or cracking depending on weather conditions. But more than that, these feel as consistent, and they're certainly as professionally well-tuned as any Xiaos I have ever played. They're entirely consistent with one another, so whichever key you have, they play as well as the next. They all have similar harmonics, resonance, tone color, and all of these flutes have a really solid 2.5 octave range. As the lowest of the Xiao flutes, this one has excellent ergonomics. The holes are placed very well so that you can play comfortably with a piper's grip, or you can roll your hand in if it's a long reach for you. For me, I could reach much further down the flute, but I think this makes it quite accessible for a lot of players who do want to play the lower bass flutes. And the key of A is a romantic, beautiful key. This is a really exceptional Xiao. It's got a great soothing tone color to it, and it really lends itself to the instrument. So next up we have the key of B flat, and what makes B flat rather exciting is that it's not a typical key at all for Xiao flutes, but it's a very common key in the West, particularly for jazz or different musical styles, and so that opens up more horizons for you to play with different instruments, to play jazz and along with other musicians with your Xiao flute. These aren't just great Xiao flutes though, they're great flutes overall, and they're so versatile with the 8-hole system. That's a fully diatonic flute, and it's fully chromatic with just 2 half holes, one here for the left hand ring finger, and then here the right hand pinky. Because it's an end-blown flute as well, there are so many different techniques you can employ, so even though they're great Xiao flutes, you can play them in so many different ways, make them sound like different flutes. Your own imagination is your limitation. So for instance, you could play something jazzy. You could ease off the flute a bit and add some breathiness, change up the scale, and create a totally different atmosphere. your notes a bit like an Irish player, or you could bend them like a shakuhachi player because it's an end-blown flute. So here you can do both. You know, so again, it's your own creativity at play of what you want to do with these flutes. But of course, they're still great Xiaos for professional players who want to use them for their original intended purpose. After B flat, we have the key of B. And B has the opposite relationship of B flat, where B flat's very common in the West, not common at all for Xiao flutes. B is common in Chinese flutes, and there are a number of great Chinese songs that are written in the key of B, a number of solo pieces that are good for this instrument, whereas B is not common in the West at all. However, there is a reason still I'd recommend this particular flute to a particular audience of Western players, or people even who want to play Western music with their Xiao flute. As with most flutes, the wider, bigger flutes are easier to blow. They're actually a more forgiving instrument to play. The narrower and smaller a flute gets, the more developed your embouchure needs to be to leap those octaves, to have a good tone on them. Of the three lower range Xiaos then, this one has the easiest reach, and it still has that nice deep register sound to it. And you can push it just as well as any of the other ones. So if you're a hobbyist or an amateur player or somebody just looking to try the Xiao, this will be a more forgiving flute. It'll have a nice, deep, pleasant tone to it. It's got the easiest reach of the lower Xiao flutes, and it's still a really useful key for the instrument. Moving on, because there just isn't a lot of time. This is the key of C. C and D are the two most common keys that Xiaos are made in. C is a wonderful key, musically speaking, because it's very friendly for Western players. It's great for reading sheet music, but it's also one of the core keys for these flutes. So it's extremely useful for the Chinese music as well. It might be my favorite register. I think the highs are rich and sweet and vibrant, and then the lows are warm and just low enough. This flute, to me, is everything that I think the Xiao is supposed to be. And I should mention, this particular flute is made out of ebonite. compared to another Xiao flute made from African blackwood, they really look quite similar. Both excellent materials, both expensive materials, but worth it. Ebonite is particularly durable, great acoustic materials. There's a reason they make concert instruments out of this. And so it makes a stellar Xiao flute. After C, we have the key of D. This is the other most common key that Xiao flutes are made in, and like C, D is an invaluable key, musically speaking. It crosses so many borders and barriers from one continent to another, in totally different musical cultures. You will still see there are so many keyless flutes that are made in D. It's a great key, musically speaking. It's extremely friendly for other instruments to play along. It's easy as well still to sight read. So that makes this one of the most versatile of what's already a very flexible instrument and flute. The D Xiao is one of the principal keys for Xiao, so it lends itself to playing Xiao. But again, there's really nothing stopping you from playing something different. You could easily play Irish trad on your Xiao flute if you wanted to. Or do a little slip jig. Getting into the higher registers now for the Xiao flutes, this is in the key of E. And not only is that a great key for playing along with violins and guitars, strings, these higher pitched Xiao flutes are especially boisterous and dynamic, really punchy and strong. So loads of fun to play. The reach is now quite short, so you could easily play it on your fingertips, although I'd encourage you to learn the piper's grip and commit to that. However, E is also a key that Xiao flutes are made in, so it has its uses there too. If you're a professional, if you're somebody who wants to have a range of Xiao flutes in different keys, also a great choice if you just want a really dynamic, higher pitched flute. finally, we have the high F. This is the highest pitched of the Xiao flutes that Jeffrey makes. And it's not a key that Xiaos are typically made in because it's so extremely difficult. Usually it's just too high or too low, and yet somehow Jeffrey's managed to make a really excellent high F Xiao, which is rare, hard to find, and it's got the same harmonics and strength of tone and that same precise tuning as all the rest of them. Great tuning on that. You do need to have a more developed embouchure, I think, to play this one. So if you have any experience playing flutes, you'll be fine. Even better if you have some experience playing end-blown flutes, and especially Xiao. But compared to like the E and all the other ones down, this is the one where you need to hit it, and you need to hit it just right. Because if you don't, it's not gonna forgive you for it. But the reward is a brilliant, crystal clear flute with a great range on it and fantastic expressiveness. That's the high F, and like with the rest of these Xiaos, I have a very easy time recommending them, not just to Xiao players and not just as Xiao flutes, but really just as excellent keyless flutes for amateur players to professionals alike that are really only limited by your own creativity and what you want to do with them. Jeffrey's done a really amazing thing here, making such excellent Xiaos in a variety of materials, in a variety of keys, and having them all feel the same and play the same. And as someone who's been playing Xiao on stage for over a decade, I'm absolutely blown away.